Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes in 2009. Yes, so another Guy Ritchie review. Of course, I reviewed The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and as well, of course, Snatch recently. And yeah, Guy Ritchie. This film basically was one that I got on DVD. Roughly when it came out. On DVD back in at the time, and it was one that I never really. I watched some of it, and I don't think I watched all of it all the way through. Just didn't interest me really, unfortunately. And I love period pieces and everything like that. I love Sherlock Holmes films actually. The Hound of the Baskervilles. The Peter Cushing one was great, especially. I loved that one. I'm not seeing all the Sherlock Holmes ones, but I thought Peter Cushing actually was. I loved him as Sherlock Holmes, and Robert Downey Jr. is an interesting pick, and Guy Ritchie is an interesting director to kind of helm a Sherlock Holmes film. So yeah, I rewatched it tonight. Oh, of course, maybe you could say watched it for the first time all the way through, and I can see why I didn't really like it in the first place. It's not a bad film, but it's another Guy Ritchie film. It's not good enough, really. It doesn't hit the marks that it should. The tone doesn't quite fit you know, his style, and stuff, and just another Guy Ritchie film that's just really disappointing, unfortunately. I don't think it's as bad as The Man from U.N.C.L.E., but yeah, basically it'll be a very short review. There's not much to say, but of course everyone's familiar with Sherlock Holmes and stuff, and it's done very well at the box office. And yeah, Guy Ritchie after Snatch, really, he's not had the best of careers, unfortunately. Rock and Roller was average. I did like that one, but The Man from U.N.C.L.E., they are a bit underwhelming. And it's been, of course, King Arthur and stuff did not wasn't well regarded and stuff. So he's not had the best of times. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr. We'll talk about him quickly. I think he does give, he's energetic. He's quite, charming and stuff, which is great. And he's kind of bumbling as well, which is kind of what they're going for with this one. But really, the character isn't written too well in this film. I don't think it's got a compelling narrative. That's one of the things I noticed. There's a couple of good bits earlier, the first 5 minutes or so. It's quite funny and it was kind of fast paced and stuff. Then after that until the half an hour mark is very very bland. The narrative is weak, I would say, and just doesn't establish the actual story and stuff and the drive really that too well. Rachel McAdams shows up, and honestly, I don't like her in this film. Jude Law is, of course, his partner. I don't like him in this film, and Mark Strong as well. For the most part, I think he's a great actor. Just really like him and everything. I don't like him in this film. So there you go. You've got quite a few people that I'm not a fan of in this film. And their characters aren't written too well at all. The narrative is very very weak at times. There's flourishes throughout the film. Where it has a bit of interest. Piques my interest, but really it's just very very unfocused, kind of wishy washy storytelling. And another thing that really disappointed me was the visuals. I don't know if you'll know what I mean, but it just looks like a kind of average BBC drama, period kind of drama. Not very cinematic for the most part. There's some good practical effects, but there is some bad CGI I noticed. But yes, the actual visuals. I think Sherlock Holmes as well. It's meant to have this kind of atmosphere and gothic kind of at times as well, and that's what the some of the Hammer ones done. But perfectly. But this is very very basic. Doesn't have a lot of depth to the the cinematography. The editing is very very mixed. I feel that the action, which is one of the big pros of the film. The action is very very well put together. But I think some of the way the kind of flashbacks kind of stuff and the retelling of certain scenes is put in there is a bit out of place at times and doesn't really add anything. But the action scenes, there's one of the pros. The action scenes are really really well done. Very kinetic, full of energy, kind of Guy Ritchie, and it's got slapstick in it as well. That's what Guy Ritchie, that's the moments really he shows himself in the film. You know, and apart from that, he doesn't. I don't feel like he thinks he. I don't think he felt confident that he could have been Guy Ritchie in this film, because so many people criticised, Lock, Stock and Snatch unfairly. I feel personally. I think they were both great films, especially Snatch. And I think really since then, for the most part, he's never really been Guy Ritchie in that sense. He's always felt like he has to, hold it back. I think that's what happens here because of the source material kind of thing, and it is Sherlock Holmes. I don't think he wanted to go full on, but I think that would have worked better because at times this feels just like a very, very diluted kind of version of what he could have done. The action though is the only thing that really where he fully commits, I think, to what his kind of style and stuff, and that's the stuff that is the best probably, throughout the film. The action scenes, and because he's got comedy in there as well, it's kind of the best of the film is in them parts, and some of the ending parts are good as well. But yes, it just as I've said, the cinematography is very, very basic. The music though, Hans Zimmer, very, very good. I was impressed with that, and it just it had some decent ending scenes, but generally because Mark Strong's villain came into play there more, that kind of was mixed. Overall, I just don't think we'll wrap up really already. I feel I don't think this is I don't want to say that Sherlock Holmes shouldn't be this because I'm always open to different interpretations. But really, for this, it didn't work. I don't feel Guy Ritchie's style. But the fact as well that because it was Sherlock Holmes, I don't think he fully committed. And I think actually, if it was something like Snatch, but a Sherlock Holmes film kind of thing, it wouldn't have been as bad as this because it's a mixture of that and it's just diluted Guy Ritchie. It just doesn't. And it's very, very boring at times, unfortunately. The writing isn't great. Not written by Guy Ritchie. Maybe that would have worked as well. It just doesn't feel like a film that his film in that sense, and it's not a compelling narrative for me. I don't think the script is that good. I think that there's many, many stretches where it just doesn't have any drive whatsoever. I feel that the slapstick and the action and stuff does, it does impress me. It does bring it up a bit, and the music, the costumes were good actually, but the actual recreation, in the sense of the visuals and stuff, and how it's meant to have an atmosphere, and sometimes the way the people act in it, I didn't think it was a very good recreation at the time. I was really disappointed with the visuals, to be honest. The cinematography, the colour tone, everything. It just looked like you went and you looked at London and you just slapped a load of London now and slapped a load of people in there that kind of dressing up as old people. It didn't work in that sense really. But it's got some things going for it. But overall, as a whole, this film never really came together to a level where I really cared. There was many stretches where I was bored of the film just because I wasn't compelled, by the writing, the characters overall. The actual narrative, it's meant to be really, really involving. Sherlock Holmes, that Hound of the Baskervilles film, you check it out, the 1959 one, I think it was. That one in particular, I really love, and I think that it just draws you in, and it's never, it's sometimes hammy at times, but it's not perfect. But the narrative is so strong, I feel, and there is a moth in my room, and I'll have to kill that in a minute. But yes, the narrative was just so focused, and it was such full of atmosphere, the gothic kind of feel, and the visuals, the colour tone and everything, and the villains and everything. It was just great, I feel it was great. Christopher Lee was really good in it, as always. This is a letdown, I feel. It's slightly under average. I think I have to give it a 58%. Not a high score from me. I could barely give it a like. It was very, very wishy-washy. A bit painful at times actually, just because it didn't compel me, and it's a shame. A combination of many things that at times don't work, other times there flourishes of things that do work. Overall, very disappointing and slightly under average. That's all I can say really. Rock and Roller was better than this, although that was average. I think that was better than this. And who knows? Maybe I'll enjoy the second one more. I'm gonna watch that maybe quite soon. But this was overall disappointing, and it's kind of just what I remembered it to be. I thought maybe I'd maybe have more patience this time round, but really I was just more bored than I was back then. So that kind of just sums up, what I feel about this film. But anyway, thanks for watching, and check it out if you've not seen it. Maybe you'll like it more than I did. But yes, thanks for watching.